everybody, welcome back to PCOS week at Jennifer Woodward Nutrition. It is fun to talk about because so many people suffer from PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And as we were learning this week, there are many cofactors that generally go along with having PCOS. So we're breaking it down this week, as to why that is. Why do so many other issues go along with PCOS? We've talked about that earlier this week. Hypertension, we talked about yesterday. Weight loss resistance generally goes along with PCOS. So we are looking at some of the root causes as to why you have PCOS to begin with, and we are looking at some of those extenuating circumstances that go along with PCOS and what you can do to bring down both those other symptoms and then also start to reverse your own PCOS. And that's really what I want to help you do, is to make you realize you don't need another doctor. There's no pill for PCOS, and heaven forbid if you actually go on the pill for PCOS. That's one of the worst ideas possible. So please do not go on the pill to manage your PCOS symptoms. You will end up having more problems than you ever thought you had to begin with. You do not want to start messing around with synthetic hormones in the body. There's a whole nother kettle of fish if you have PCOS and you have PMS and you've ever been on the pill or are currently on the pill. I would highly recommend taking steps to going off the pill as soon as possible. And we can go over this for a whole nother mini masterclass as to why the pill is terrible for women. Just terrible for women, if that's something you guys are interested in. So welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining. We have Wendy, Christy, and Priscilla. Thank you for being here. We are, like I was saying, just going forward with our mini master classes on PCOS. All right. Hi, Jennifer. And so what I want to break it down for you today, or how I want to break it down for you today, is this. Generally, type 2 diabetes will go along with PCOS. In fact, the more, if you have PCOS, it's likely that you have type 2 diabetes. And this is why. Both are a metabolic issue, all right? Both have a metabolic underlying current, and truly, you cannot have PCOS unless you are insulin resistant to begin with. And type 2 diabetes is an insulin resistant situation, right? Hey, Tori. So you want to make sure that you are taking steps to reverse that insulin resistance. Easier said than done, but you guys, it can be done. It really can be done. You can bring your insulin levels down, meaning that you are less insulin resistant, by utilizing an excellent diet and also some targeted supplements. And tomorrow we will go over just a few of those supplements, but I do want to tell you, I'm super excited. I've been putting together a high testosterone / PCOS roadmap that gives you everything you need to do to start reversing your own PCOS without doctors, heck, without me, right? I want to teach you how to reverse that PCOS on your own so that you don't have to spend money or time or energy trying to figure it out with people that don't help you to begin with, right? Again, if you go to your OBGYN or your primary care physician for PCOS, likely the only pharmaceutical intervention that you will be offered is the pill. For a lot of women, they will also be offered an antidepressant. Why? Because if you have PCOS, it's more likely than if you don't have PCOS that you will suffer from anxiety or depression. Now that's a big bummer, right? Not only are you dealing with all of these physical issues with PCOS, but now your mood is starting to suffer too. So again, since there's no cure for PCOS, no pharmaceutical, no medical cure for PCOS, you will probably be offered an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety medication. And I would like you to not take those either, if at all possible. Obviously, there is a time and a place for, mood helpers, right? SSRIs and other pharmaceuticals that can help just kind of balance your mood while you're fixing your PCOS. But if you can get to the root cause to begin with, you won't have any need for either one of those medications, the pill or an antidepressant. So let's get into what we're talking about today. Again, a metabolic disorder is at the root of both type 2 diabetes and also PCOS. Generally, type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes will precede the diagnosis of PCOS. Again, those two are inextricably linked. Like, you will have one if you have the other. You can't be insulin resistant. If you can't have PCOS without some sort of insulin resistance. And we'll go over again what causes that. As you eat more and more processed food, junk food, sugar, seed oils like sunflower, canola oil, corn oil, basically newfangled world foods, right? Foods that your grandparents did not eat. And the more often you eat, as we talked about earlier this week on our class on weight loss resistance, the more insulin your body secretes. Insulin is your fat storage hormone. It's also the hormone that unlocks the muscle cells to inject glucose to be used later for energy. Your body can store about 300 grams of glucose at a time in both the liver and the muscle cells. And after that, it's finito. You have nowhere else to put that glucose. And so insulin will start to unlock fat cells to stuff the glucose into your fat cells. And all of a sudden, you are dealing with more upper arm fat than you ever wanted, right? So, the less often you eat, I'm not talking about fasting for days on end. I'm talking about just eating 3 balanced, normal meals a day, 3 nourishing meals that contain all the macronutrients, heavy on the protein, reasonable on the fat, reasonable on the carbohydrates, 3 times a day. All right. If you just do that one simple trick, you will start to reverse your insulin resistance. All right. And insulin can start doing what it's supposed to do. Instead of being so overrun in the body and having to take that glucose and put it into your fat cells, it's going to be able to utilize the glucose that you're eating and stuff it into your muscle cells where you can actually use it for energy. Do you notice with PCOS that you are fatigued all the time? That is another sign of insulin resistance, and it's just a testament to the fact that your body is not creating or storing energy properly. So we want to get back that metabolic advantage of creating and storing ATP effectively so that you not only have energy, but that your weight starts to come to a normal weight, all right? Now, you can be insulin resistant, and you are insulin resistant if you have lean PCOS. So even if you're not overweight and you suffer from PCOS, your body is still insulin resistant. So even if you don't have weight to lose, I still would definitely implore you to eat those 3 satisfying, nourishing whole food meals a day. All right. So here, insulin will definitely, it tends to store fat around your midsections. That's why a lot of women with PCOS will suffer from that, that belly that they don't love, the muffin top, right? It's because that's where insulin's preferentially putting, it's building fat around your midsection. That's just where the body tends to go. It's a good place to store fat, apparently. So you will notice as you start to regulate your insulin levels that you'll lean out and get more of that hourglass shape that women are basically designed to have, right? Okay, so the other thing that high insulin levels do is they tell the ovaries to make more testosterone. Now, that's another issue that women with PCOS suffer from. As we talked about earlier this week, you have elevated androgens, most notably testosterone. So if your insulin levels are chronically elevated, then your body is always telling your ovaries to make more testosterone. And you already know testosterone is an androgenic hormone. It's a male pattern hormone, but women also need it. And we also create it. We just don't have any testes, and so we create ours in the ovaries. You want some testosterone, but not too much testosterone. And an overproduction of testosterone is endemic to PCOS. And again, we just saw why that is. When you have too much insulin in your bloodstream, too often for too long, that insulin speaks. It's an endocrine hormone, so it tells the rest of the body what to do. And it tells the body, it tells the ovaries to create more testosterone in reaction to those high insulin levels. And so now, you're getting even higher androgens, even higher testosterone. So it's a perpetuating cycle, but that cycle begins with elevated insulin. Elevated insulin begins with too much glucose in the blood. So pull that down and you start reversing all of these negative cascades. Now, I'm not telling you to go on a keto diet. I am not telling you to go on an Atkins diet. I am advocating just normal whole foods, even like a super low carb diet, ladies. I don't see it work well for women in my practice. When we go too low carb, people get constipated, they get lethargic, they get irritable. The body needs carbs. Women's bodies need carbs. On, the flip side of that, you also have to make sure that you're moving enough throughout the day to burn off those carbohydrates, put them into your body, but then also make sure you're moving. And of all the hormone insufficient states or imbalanced states, women with PCOS are the ones that are going to want to adopt a very consistent exercise program. As I was going through my roadmap research this week, I came across, literature article, scientific article after scientific article that shows how effective, how helpful exercise is for women with PCOS. In fact, one study showed that over 12 months, if you on average work out for only 24 minutes a day, 24.9 minutes a day, or 24.6 minutes a day, over the course of 12 months, will lower your insulin by 40%. Now, I'm not talking about like, getting on, stationary bike or doing CrossFit. This study was done with women who are just walking. So if you can get outside and just walk for 24 minutes a day, on average, 5 or 6 days a week for a year, your insulin will be reduced by 40%. That's huge. And that study was not done with any change of diet at all. So just including that exercise is going to help you reduce your insulin levels, and that's what we want. All right. So, let's go over, how you can measure these things, right? You can measure and test your hemoglobin A1C, which is a measure of like glycated sugar in the blood. So it's sugar bound to proteins, right? If that's elevated, it's a marker for type 2 diabetes. I like to see it under 5. I think the cutoff is 5.2, but for functional levels, women tend to feel better if their hemoglobin A1C is under 5, all right? You can also test fasting blood glucose. You can do that yourself with a glucometer. And if you have type 1 diabetes, you are testing yourself with a glucometer every day. If you have type 2 diabetes, it's easy to do that as well. You can go on Amazon, you can go to Walmart, you can go to CVS, get yourself a glucometer for $40 or so and start testing your blood sugar. If you're fasted, it should be under 90. If you have just eaten, it should not be over 110. So it's a very narrow range of where we want our fasting blood glucose. If you have type 2 diabetes, you're going to see your blood glucose either postprandial after a meal or fasting is going to be up in the hundreds, 200s, 300s. I've seen it in the 500s, and that's scary for the body. That's promoting growths in the body that we do not want. It's promoting a metabolic state in the body that it can be very dangerous. So again, you're going to want to take steps to bring down that fasting blood glucose and the postprandial blood glucose by eating 3 nourishing whole food meals a day. All right, not doing some crazy diet, not doing keto, not doing super low carb, not doing vegan, right? Just balance it out, ladies. PCOS is an imbalance of the body. If you can take steps to rebalance your body, starting with the biochemical reaction of food, you are making great strides. Okay, so that is pretty much our class for today. I think I've gone over all the notes that I wanted to go over with you. The reason you have type 2 diabetes with PCOS is that you really can't have PCOS without some sort of metabolic dysfunction, without either pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes, because PCOS, be it lean PCOS or regular PCOS, is at its heart a metabolic disorder brought on by too much insulin in the blood. So reduce your fasting blood glucose, your after meal blood glucose, therefore you will reduce your insulin levels. When your insulin levels have decreased, your body can start coming back into balance. With lower insulin levels, your body tells the ovaries to output less testosterone, bringing down your androgens, now bringing down like your facial hair and your acne, your irritability, that spare tire that you get with too much testosterone, too much cortisol, and too much insulin, and the body starts coming back into balance. All right. Tomorrow, we will be going through a few supplements that you can use for PCOS. It's not about supplements. There is no pill that will fix your PCOS. You've got to put in the work. You've got to modify your lifestyle, but you can do it. Like, you just start making changes and choices that lead you closer to that goal of reversing PCOS instead of further away from the goal, because no one can bring you back from that brink. It's got to be done by you, and you really can do it. All right. So hopefully this is a good tool for you in your journey. If you have questions, please ask me. Forward this to anyone that you feel like could benefit from it. I love to get to, help women and teach them about their disease states and how they can reverse chronic illness so that they can, nourish themselves and nourish those that depend on them. And PCOS is a great example of a chronic illness that you have complete control over. So I hope that helps. Join me tomorrow in my private Facebook group where we will be doing Libido Lab. That is our happy hormones hour where you bring your own cocktail and join me at 4:45, and we'll just be going over a pretty short little mini masterclass on why your libido has tanked and what you can do to reverse that. But again, that's girls only and it is private, so join that group if you feel like it. And all of these mini master classes next week will be moved into my private Facebook group, so you have to ask for permission to join that. I just want to keep it very tight in that group and make sure that everyone feels safe and cared for there, and really bring a lot of value and content to those women. So thank you for being here, ladies. I really appreciate it, and I will check in with you tomorrow around 3 o'clock, where we will go over 3 supplements for reversing PCOS. But do remember, it is not about supplements. It is not about a pill. Okay. That being said, I will share a few of my secret weapons with you, but remember, it's mostly diet, it's lifestyle, it's here, right? And you know, it's here. Get out and walk, all right? And tag me when you do. Thanks for being here. I will see you tomorrow. Thanks, ladies. Bye.